Democrats were feeling optimistic about the vice president's chances of winning the presidency. But then election night came, and it was like 2016 all over again. So why do you think the vice president lost, and were you surprised?
I wasn't surprised. I was very disappointed, but I wasn't surprised.
In your final year, there was a dramatic decline in your cognitive abilities.
Not because negative. I mean, it was anyway. As they say in Southern, we've done pretty good. We left with a circumstance where we had an insurrection. When I started, I'll lay you 8-5. If when that election started, I told you we were going to get any of that done, none of you would have thought that.
Joe Biden appeared on The View the other day, and my God, what a showing. So that intro, just to let you know, is somewhat edited. I mean, I didn't AI stuff. I didn't go too hard. All of that stuff he actually said, I kind of went through it and got the most interesting 40 seconds, for punch. A video needs a Razzie intro. But this whole affair lasted for about 20 minutes, half an hour, and I sat through the whole thing. Oh my God, those bitches on The View. Fuck me. I think like being an audience member at The View would be like my personal hell. I mean, you got fucking Whoopi going, yeah, we're pleased to announce Joe Biden, everyone. And Joy Behar going, shut the fuck up. Oh my God. So Joe took his wife on. Now there's something about that lady that I just don't trust. There's something about her. I think she's like bad. I think she's a bit evil. But Joe ends up prattling on about policy and how he thinks Trump's doing and a lot of boring stuff. The things that I wanted to see out of this were A, his position on Kamala. Like, do you hate her? Do you think she's a bitch? Throw some shade, Joe. And B, an update on his cognitive function. Because let's face it, that's the juicy stuff. And we'll have a look right after this. Let's go!
What's going on, guys? Thanks for coming to Politics and Life and Mama Doll K. I am streaming off both platforms. I've received a lot of compliments and a lot of criticism on the last live that I paused it too much and engaged with the audience too much, and that I talked about the other channels too much. So I'm just going to stream more, and I'm going to pause less, and I'm going to comment after the clips are over of what we're talking about. And that's today, Biden, big media, Democrat cover-up. It's been exposed that Joe Biden has cancer now, even though there's been professionals that have came out in the past few days, many saying that if he had that type of cancer, he's had it for years, up until the presidency. And the Democrat Party and the big media chains have been lying to the public, and now it's been exposed. Not just that, but Jake Tapper and Alex, I don't know his last name, just came out with a book pretty much exposing the big cover-up that Joe Biden was demented the whole time he was president. So who was really pulling the strings, you may ask? Well, that's a great question. It would have been nice for big media to ask the past 4 years, but now that they know that their ratings are low, their trust is at all-time lows, they can't go around lying anymore because the public has other resources to go to when it comes to getting the real news. So we're going to go through what they did to cover up for Biden in the past. We're going to go over the HERS report, which was released a couple of days ago, which shows Biden was clearly demented and suffering through dementia or something during his interview. And then we're just going to go through old past clips of the leftist media lying and the Democrats lying as well to the public, saying that Joe Biden was more than capable to be the president of the United States, which we now know was a lie. Also that he had cancer during the whole presidency, which makes complete sense why he stumbled, bumbled, pretended he was shaking hands with dead people, just had no composure, could not speak on the world stage, and made Americans and America itself look embarrassing on the world stage altogether under the past 4 years under his administration. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let's get it started, y'all.
Joe Rogan lives and breathes MMA fighting. He's in extremely good shape and he's doing well health-wise at the tender age of 57. One of the supplements he's talked about is NMN.
What is NMN? So about 20 years ago, Lenny Guarente and a team of us at MIT discovered a set of genes that controls aging in yeast cells, just raw as yeast, what you find in beer and bread. And those genes are called sirtuins, and there are 7 of them in our bodies, 5 in yeast. And what they do is they protect all organisms on the planet, plants, bacteria, humans, from deterioration and disease. They're like the Pentagon. They sense when we're hungry, sense when we're exercising, and they send out the troops to defend us. So when you put more of these genes into a yeast cell or a mouse, they'll live longer, between 5 to 20% longer. And so we think that these genes are responsible for the effects of dieting and exercise, which is great. What that means is we can now mimic that with molecules. So NMN is one of those molecules. So is resveratrol.
So with NMN, you get improved energy, weight management, anti-aging, and endurance and strength. Every bloke knows you got to be strong and mentally aware.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back the 46th President of the United States, Joe Biden.
So Joe does his little jog out onto the stage. He's sprightly. He's ready to go. Now, the thing about Joe Biden, and this is a compliment, right? Joe Biden is very, very polite. You're not going to hear him call anyone a bitch. He's not going to go into full savage mode like Trump on Rosie O'Donnell. He's a polite man. He's a very dignified man when he's not being propped up by his handlers. So let's get into the questions.
Mr. President, last time you were here was a little over a month before the election, and you had made the selfless and very difficult decision, I'm sure, to step aside. And Democrats were feeling optimistic about the vice president's chances of winning the presidency. But then election night came, and it was like 2016 all over again. Yeah. So why do you think the vice president lost, and were you surprised?
Oh. I wasn't surprised.
He wasn't surprised because she's shit. Of course she wasn't going to fucking win. We're talking about Kamala Harris. She's pissed.
You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?
Now, to be fair, I did cut him off there. He does say more about this.
Not because I didn't think the vice president was the most qualified person to be president. She is. She's qualified to be president of the United States of America. But I was surprised. I wasn't surprised because they went the route of the sexist route, the whole route. I mean, this is a woman, she's this, she's that. I mean, it really, I've never seen quite as successful and a consistent campaign undercutting the notion that a woman couldn't lead the country and a woman of mixed race.
Oh, come on. They went the sexist route. She's a person of color. They did not. Did you ever see a Trump campaign ad saying, don't vote for this colored chick because she's just a colored chick? It didn't fucking happen. Come on, Joe. I never saw any of that. I didn't see it at rallies. I didn't see it in ads. Maybe I'm wrong. Was there some big Trump campaign talking about how she's a woman of color and how a woman of color can't do the job?
I want to speak on that real quick. This is what the left does if they don't get their way, especially when it comes to voting. They will call the voter base, and it's pretty ignorant because this is what Hillary Clinton did. This is what Kamala did. Hillary Clinton calling us deplorables. Kamala literally saying voters are dumb. They don't accept that they just weren't a good candidate, that they don't come with policy platforms that benefits the American people. So what do? They call you bigot, they call you racist, they call you sexist, just like Biden just did, because they have nothing else. They provide nothing that benefits the American people on a daily basis. So they just insult you, and that's that.
I don't think there was. I think you're making shit up, Joe. I mean, the only campaign that talked about race and sex was the Kamala campaign. They couldn't shut the fuck up about it.
It's time for hope, for change. It's time to be a man and vote for a woman.
And they played that to a fairly well. In addition to that, one of the things happened, if you notice, and I'm going to be shorter, okay? I promise. Okay. She said, don't be Joe Biden, be short.
I said that to him.
Anyway, make a long story short, all kidding aside, think about it. Liberal democracies all across America, all across the world lost that time.
Yeah.
All across America.
Does anyone have any idea what he just said then? It was something like liberal democracies all across the world lost us time out, all across America. And then the bitches on The View just go, yeah, he said something about liberal. He said something about democracy. Yeah, Joe, go Joe. I don't think I'm being bad faith here. Let's listen again.
Think about it. Liberal democracies all across America, all across the world lost that time.
Yeah.
All across America.
Yep, no fucking idea. Now, we can't go too hard on the bloke. He's not in public office anymore. He is fucking 82, 83, whatever, and he's losing the plot. Let's continue.
I think we underestimate the phenomenal negative impact that COVID had and the pandemic had on people, on attitudes, on optimism, on a whole range of things. So I was very disappointed And but I wasn't surprised.
So there was some tangent about COVID, but that was all in a roundabout way to say, yep, she's shit. I wasn't surprised. I was disappointed because Kamala is shit. Now, like I said, he's a polite guy. He's not going to directly say Kamala is shit. But come on, I wasn't surprised. I was disappointed. That's Joe Biden speak for Kamala's shit, and I never had any confidence in her.
Well, Mr. President, some have even argued that leaving the race and endorsing your Vice President Harris, over 100 days before the election hampered her campaign.
Well, you know,
What do you say to those critics?
I say number one, that there were still 6 full months. She was in every aspect, every decision I made.
I mean, there was 106 days or something like that. There wasn't 6 months. He's getting confused here. There was 6 months left in his presidency. But the question was all about, did she have long enough to campaign? Because she only had 100 and whatever days.
We sit and say, well, what about this provision? No, Joe, I don't like that. Well, anyway, we worked it out. It was a mutual thing. But like I said, I'll lay you 8-5 if when that election started, I told you we were going to get any of that done. None of you would have thought it happened.
No.
Not because negative. I mean, it was anyway. As they say in Southern, we've done pretty good.
What? Poor old timer, poor Joe, leave him alone. He shouldn't be doing shows like this because he doesn't make any sense. Now, this next bit is another subtle Joe Biden crack at Kamala. Just listen to the way he words this.
She's got a difficult decision to make about what she's going to do.
Yeah.
I hope she stays fully engaged. I think she's first rate. But we have a lot of really good candidates as well.
She's got a difficult decision to make. I hope she stays fully engaged. I think she's first rate. However, we've got a lot of good candidates. Who do you have, Joe? Who? Fucking AOC, the American psycho bloke from California? That funny little Indian fellow that just tried to impeach Trump? I mean, to say, oh, she's first rate, I think she's fantastic. But we've got a heap of good people. No, you don't. You've got a heap of shit cunts.
The Democrat Party, hey Sharon, I hope you're having a great night. The Democrat Party or day has no one good. And I mean no one good. I could debate the Democrat Party and I could demolish every single one of them in a debate over policy and about what this country needs. They have no one. If I had to pick, I mean, Newsom maybe, but he's still terrible. He's run my state of California into the ground and he has given nothing good to us. I just know he's a sleazebag and he's good at lying and deflecting and not answering questions correctly. But the rest of the Democrat Party, they just talk about the same stuff on rotation on the daily basis. Oh, the Republicans are going to take away your Medicare and Medicaid. Fear-mongering about the border, saying that we need illegals in this country to take jobs that Americans won't work. It's just the Democrat Party, I really believe, is just a dying party. No one likes them unless you're one of these very small minority of sheeple. Unfortunately, that watches MSNBC or CNN and is still falling for the daily fear-mongering. But besides that, the majority of this country is red. Hence, if you look at the election map.
And you've just lumped her in with all those shit cunts because Kamala is in fact a shit cunt. That's what he's saying. Now we move on to the cognitive decline portion of this interview. And this is fucking brutal. Let's go.
Mr. President, since you left office, there have been a number of books that have come out, deeply sourced from Democratic sources, that claim in your final year there was a dramatic decline in your cognitive abilities in the final year of your presidency. What is your response to these allegations, or are these sources wrong?
They are wrong. There's nothing to sustain that. Number one. Number two, think of what we're left with. We're left with a circumstance where we had an insurrection when I started.
Did he just say he started the insurrection? Is that what he said?
We had an insurrection when I started.
Now, before you say, oh, Baring, you're deceptively editing, I'll play you the whole thing. When I first saw it, I thought, is he maybe saying there was an insurrection, I started the inquiry into it or something like that? But no, he sort of trails off a bit and then starts talking about like the American Civil War insurrection. I mean, if I'm going to be good faith about this, I think he just misspoke. But that was a hell of a misspeak.
We had an insurrection when I started. Not since the Civil War. We had a circumstance where we were in a position that the pandemic, because of the incompetence of the last outfit, end up over 1 million people dying. many
Last
people
night.
dying.
Now, remember, this question was about a bunch of books that have apparently been written, books about his cognitive decline. Even if we grant that the insurrection thing was just a misspeak, I mean, he's not answering the fucking question. He goes on about COVID and the incompetency of the last outfit. None of this, sir, is about your cognitive abilities. He cannot stay on track and his wife has to jump in for him. This happens a lot during this interview, but here's a good example.
We're also in a situation where we found ourselves unable to deal with a lot of just basic issues, and which I won't go into in the interest of time. And so we went to work, and we got it done. And one of the things and
Alyssa, one of the things I think is that the people who wrote those books were not in the White House with us.
So I think his wife propped him up. And I don't mean the way that a wife usually props up a husband, like moral support and all that. I mean like Weekend at Bernie's propped him up. I think she did sort of form a cocoon around him. And I think he had like puppet masters towards the end. Anyway, like I said, poor old Joe. He shouldn't be subjected to this shit anymore. He should be at home reading a book, seeing his grandkids every now and then, making sure old Hunter doesn't start snorting weird substances. But I found this interesting, so I thought I'd talk about it. Now, I hadn't heard about this interview till the other day. It didn't come across my radar for some reason. So if you ever see anything that you think would be the subject to a good bearing video, please send it my way. My Twitter is @bear_ing.
That was insane. And the fact that people couldn't see the clear cognitive decline in Joe Biden's speech or how he was as a person just blows my mind. It shows that these people have been so indoctrinated and so Trump deranged that they are willing to overlook pretty much anything just as long as it's not Trump. They think he's like the Antichrist when it's the Democrats that are the Satan worshipers, it seems to me. Now we're going to go on to the fake leftist news covering up for Biden's dementia the past few years, and then talk about Jake Tapper's new book going against what he actually promoted.
You have it? Okay, I'm being told we have it. Thank you. Run it, please.
Excuse me, to protest. Excuse me, they didn't put themselves down as you, and you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides.
That was President Trump saying that very fine people were marching alongside neo-Nazis and skinheads and white supremacists.
I've condemned neo-Nazis. I've condemned many different groups, but not all of those people were neo-Nazis, believe me. Not all of those people were white supremacists. And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay?
This is a president who said there were, quote, very fine people on both sides in a Charlottesville neo-Nazi Klan march in Charlottesville, and his infamous reference to very fine people. There were, quote, very fine people on both sides of that Charlottesville, Virginia march. And candidate Trump, I tried to get him 3 times to condemn David Duke. He wouldn't do it.
Well, you've got David Duke just joined, a bigot, a racist, a problem. I mean, this is not exactly the people you want in your party.
A lot of people think that he has a soft spot in his heart for, or at least won't condemn, white supremacists.
As I said on Saturday, we condemn in the strongest possible terms this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence. It has no place in America. Racism is evil, and those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups that are repugnant to everything we hold dear as Americans. We are a nation founded on the truth that all of us are created equal.
And there's this big effort by Trump supporters to pretend that the president didn't say what he said, to call this all a hoax.
And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay?
What that proves is CNN and Jake Tapper, you cannot believe anything he says. Yeah, the both sides hoax. Total joke that anyone still till this day buys into it and doesn't know the truth about this hoax. Yet they covered up for Biden's dementia on every single damn occasion, and then lied about Trump on every single damn occasion. just shows you that they are fake and cannot be trusted.
I'm just curious as to whether or not this kind of trying to hide what was happening with the president at the time had an impact on the press corps. Like, why didn't we hear some of these details from what they actually saw and were dealing with trying to get information?
Well, Alex Thompson and I were on the case, as were lots of other reporters, trying to figure out what was going on behind the scenes. But bottom line is the White House was lying, not only to the press, not only to the public, but they were lying to members of their own cabinet. They were lying to White House staffers. They were lying to Democratic members of Congress, to donors about how bad things had gotten. And in fact, Alex and I started writing this book after the election of 2024. And we spoke with more than 200 people, most of whom, almost all of whom were Democrats. And almost all of whom wouldn't be honest with us or wouldn't be candid with us until after the election. And then after the election, we found out all of these things that when you looked at what was going on with President Biden at the time, it probably doesn't surprise you the extent to which he was deteriorating. But now we have anecdotes and facts about what was really going on behind the scenes with details that Democrats wouldn't share with us until after election.
So his take is, the Democrat Party and the Biden administration lied to us. So because of that, we had no clue of Biden's clear dementia and his issues. Yet that they if anything, they had firsthand knowledge because they are Democrats and they have their ins and outs of the Democrat Party and what's being said and what's being put out. So I don't believe Jake Tapper for a minute. I think he is a snake and no one should trust anything he says. Here's when Laura challenged him on CNN about Biden's dementia. And instead, he said, "You're making fun of people with stutters." It's embarrassing.
Every time he comes on stage or they turn to him, I'm like, Joe, can you get it out? Let's get the words out, Joe. You kind of feel...
Yeah, Sharon, and the Democrats were the BLM and the KKK. They also supported segregation to keep slaves as slaves while the Republicans fought to end slavery. I mean, it's disgusting that people don't know the clear facts.
So bad for him.
How do you think it makes little kids with stutters feel when they see you make a comment like that?
First and foremost, I had no idea that Joe Biden ever suffered from a stutter. I think what we see on stage with Joe Biden, Jake, is very clearly a cognitive decline.
Okay.
That's what I'm referring to. It makes me uncomfortable.
You are
to
no.
watch somebody on stage
It's so amazing. It's so amazing to me that
try and figure out an answer.
A cognitive decline.
Well, when you're trying to tell me that what I was suggesting was
I think that you were mocking his stutter. Yeah, I think you were mocking his stutter, and I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline. I would think that somebody in the Trump family would be more sensitive to people who do not have medical licenses diagnosing politicians from afar. Plenty of people have diagnosed your father from afar, and I'm sure it offends you. Your father-in-law from afar. I'm sure it offends you. You don't have any standing to say.
I'm not diagnosing him. What I'm saying, Jake,
you just talked
is
about
that
a cognitive decline.
That Joe Biden
I have one last
struggling
question for you, Laura. You can't
times on stage, and it's very concerning. People that this could be the leader of the free world. Okay. That is all I'm saying. I genuinely feel sorry for Joe.
So that's the end of that clip. The difference between Trump and Biden was Trump would go out on multiple campaign speeches and rallies every day, multiple times a day throughout the week while doing press conferences and talk for hours on end. Where Biden, he couldn't even do a scripted press conference, needed to be told where to sit, had to take scripted questions with legit script in his hand with notes of what to talk about. Huge stark difference between Trump and Biden when it comes to comparing them with dementia. And they're one has dementia, one's just a hard worker and sometimes maybe slips up one word in a 3-hour speech. Here is Joe Scarborough defending Biden as well.
Start your tape right now, because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth.
He's sharp, he's focused, he's bright.
I don't have any concerns, and that's from personal interactions.
This version of Biden is the best Biden ever. Not a close second. Alert, sound.
I mean, the Republicans are like good at distractions.
I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline.
And if the Democrats were honest, they'd admit President Biden's mental capacity
is declining. 6 in 10 Americans don't have confidence in Joe Biden's mental capacity.
Then you have the liberal media told bad things about me and members of the Oversight Committee because we have the audacity to investigate.
Giving us their drive-by diagnoses of the President of the United States.
Congressman, what you are suggesting is that I omit portions of my reasoning and explanation to the Attorney General for political reasons.
Democrats get into a frenzy.
Do you think people close to President Biden are being honest about his mental state?
And these slip-ups kind of happen.
I mean, there should be no concern.
So I don't really care if he was off for 90 minutes and didn't put on like people wanted him to put on.
I saw no more in his...
Sharon, yeah, in France, he did poop his pants on the national stage for the world to see. I mean, we saw that. He was like taking a squat, not by a chair, but literally like he was shitting himself live on television, and it was embarrassing.
Explanation that I've seen in anybody else.
Sharper than anyone I've spoken to.
This is a very sharp president.
Incredibly sharp, incredibly probing.
He is sharp. He is on top of things.
The president has no impairment.
Nobody's buying that. No. Nobody's buying what he's selling.
And the pipeline of videos that aren't telling the full truth.
All this right-wing propaganda that his mental acuity is declined is wrong.
The same right-wing influences that are trying to take me down are trying to take down President Biden. So
Joe Biden's not the one calling the shots.
And let's look at President Biden.
People see he's not. Nobody suggests he's senile, and that's disrespectful of senior people with any kind of memory disability.
We're all aware of how he's doing.
President of Mexico, Sisi, we finally beat Medicare.
Sometimes he would say things he didn't want to say. You know what? I don't really care.
I'm serious.
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either.
President Biden's decline and its cover-up by the people around him.
Cover-up is a very loaded term.
I don't think that there is a huge cover-up underway here.
If anybody out there gives a damn about the truth, read that interview.
Original Sin. It's about President Biden's disastrous decision to run for re-election and the cover-up of his decline.
We missed a lot of this story.
And I think you have absolutely no standing to diagnose somebody's cognitive decline, the cover-up of his decline.
We missed a lot of this story.
If it weren't the truth, I wouldn't say it.
And they say I'm in good shape. Okay?
Pathetic. So pathetic. The only reason they started talking about it was after debate night, when it was clear that they cannot continue the cover-up at that point. And it's disgusting that the fake news leftist core continued to paddle on for days on end about Joe Biden's clear, demented mess that he was going through. It's disgusting how stupid they think the American people are. So now we're going to comment, or we're going to react to Hakeem Jeffries, Dollar Tree Obama, Hakeem Jeffries, and Chuck Schumer, disgusting Chuck Schumer, on their responses to Biden's clear dementia that has been exposed.
I really do want to ask you about something that has been breaking out of CNN. Our Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson have written a book called Original Sin, and they call it a cover-up of Biden's health and his cognition and his fitness, quite frankly, to be president of the United States. You sat next to Biden in the Oval Office, February 27th, 2024, just a handful of months before the president took that debate stage. And it was later reported that you and other Democratic leaders were talking before the debate about having a plan. You and Hakeem Jeffries, Nancy Pelosi, Barack Obama. I understand you later denied that that ever happened. But I am curious, I'm interested to know whether the man that you saw sitting there on that couch on that day, you were in there, you saw him up close and personal. Did you really not have any idea that he was not fit to serve a second term?
Casey, we're looking forward. We have the largest Medicaid cut in front of us. We have the whole federal
you're
government
facing all
at
of this
risk.
because you lost a presidential election. And
Well-
is that not Joe Biden's responsibility for deciding to run again?
We're looking forward.
That's it?
That's it.
All right. Senator Chuck Schumer, I know you got to go. I appreciate your time today. We'll
Thank
see you
you.
soon, I hope.
See, they can never speak the truth at all. They think we're stupid. So now let's go to what Hakeem Jeffries says about Biden's clear dementia.
From the book, President Biden didn't even recognize George Clooney at a fundraiser that the movie star was actually hosting for him. Why should voters trust Democrats when it's clear so many in your party went to great lengths to keep Biden's condition hidden from the public?
I can't tell you what happened between George Clooney and President Biden. I wasn't at
that event. What I can say is that we're not looking backward. We're going to continue to look forward, because at this moment, we've got real problems that need to be addressed on behalf of the American people, including the Republican effort to snatch away health care, snatch away food assistance, and hurt veterans.
You interacted with President Biden during those days, those final days he was president of the United States. Did you sense there was a major deterioration?
Well, in the conversations that I was able to have on behalf of the House Democratic Caucus in those final days, we simply expressed our perspective as to what would be best for the party at that given moment in time. President Biden subsequently made the decision that he was going to pass the baton to Vice President Kamala Harris. Of course, that was a decision that we supported strongly.
Just very quickly, I want to ask you, Congressman Jeffries, you say we're not looking back, we're looking forward, but what happened in the past has to do with what's going to happen in the future and whether voters can trust Democrats. As you look back, you were in a leadership position when President Biden decided to run again. Should you have done more at that point to intervene?
It's a great question in terms of whether voters can trust Democrats or not. Every single high-profile special election that has taken place since President Trump was inaugurated, a special election victory in Iowa in January, a special election victory in New York in February, a special election victory in Pennsylvania in March, a special election victory in Wisconsin in the Supreme Court race in April, and yesterday, decisively defeating a Republican incumbent in Omaha in a surprise to many observers. Clearly, voters are trusting Democrats. This year, when they go to the ballot, repeatedly rejecting MAGA extremism.
Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic
That's
leader.
just not going to work anymore. That type of rhetoric, MAGA extremists, what America First policies, which shuts down the border and puts all these other countries on blast on that they're not going to take advantage of us anymore. I cannot stand the Democrat Party and how stupid they think we, the American people, are. We, the people, don't trust Democrats. You are correct, Sharon. We are sick of the Democrat Party. And it's just so infuriating how dumb they think we are, but not just that, how dumb their representatives are on the left. Like Dollar Tree Obama, he says the same stuff in every single video I always see of him. He offers no new ideas, same talking points, same script, just like the rest of the Democrat Party. And that's why they're at record low views, because they continue to lie to Americans on a daily basis. So the Robert Hur video, one part was finally released the other day, and this is a bombshell, I would say, because it exposes just how bad Biden was during this interview.
So during this time, we were living in Chambers Road, and there were documents related to the Penn Biden Center or the Biden or the cancer failure shot or your book. Where did you keep papers that related to those things that you were actively looking?
Well, I don't know. This is what, 2017, 18, that area?
Yes, sir.
Remember, in this time frame, my son is either been deployed or is dying. And so it was, and by the way, there were still a lot of people at the time when I got out of the Senate that were encouraging me to run in this period, except the president. I'm not a mean thing to say. I mean, he just thought that she had a better shot of winning the presidency than I did. And so I hadn't at this point, even though I'm at Penn, I hadn't walked away from the idea that I may run for office again. If I ran again, I'd be running for president. And so what was happening though, when Bo died, May 30th, 2015. 2015 he died? 2015. I think it's 2015.
I'm not sure the months are, but I think that was.
Yeah.
That's right.
And what's happened in the meantime is that and Trump gets elected in November of 2017, 2016. All right. So, why did I have 2017?
That's when you left office, January of 2017.
Okay. But that's when Trump gets sworn in.
Right,
January.
right, correct.
Okay, yeah. And in 2017, Bo had passed, and this is personal. The genesis of the book and the title, Promise Me Dad, was I know you're all close with your sons and daughters, but Bo was like my right arm, and that was my left. These guys were a year and a day apart, and they could finish each other's sentences. And Bo, I used to go home on the train in the period that I was still in the Senate. Anyway, do you remember? There was not pressure. Bo knew how much I adored him. And this sounds, maybe it sounds so, everybody knew how close we were. There was not anybody in the world who wondered whether or not, anyway. And so.
I'm wondering if it's a good time to take a break. Briefly.
No, let me just keep going to get it done.
Wow. That was just embarrassing. He doesn't remember dates. He doesn't remember when he ran for president. Also, he was a terrible father. Why would you let both of your sons, or Hunter Biden, a crackhead, run overseas companies while you're selling out American people for political gain, for millions of dollars, as we know by the Hunter Biden laptop? The Biden family is a disgusting family. Ashley Biden, his own daughter, also said that Daddy, Joe Biden, made him take inappropriate showers with them in her own journal, her words, as a young kid. Joe Biden is a disgusting human being who only cares about him and him only. He let Hunter Biden go down a dark spiral path of drug addiction and did nothing but actually give him more money and put him in more positions where he could get money to use for his addiction, and instead of helping him and putting him in a rehab. He is a terrible father, and no one should consider him a good man because he's not a good man. Joe Biden is the worst kind of man. So now we're going to see real quick. Where's the Van Jones? I have a Van Jones clips where he goes in on them. Or did I delete it? Uh-oh. Oh, there it is. Van Jones goes in and responds about, what's his name? The Original Sin book that just came out from Jake Tapper.
You were on the record in 2022 voicing concerns about Biden's age and ability. Whom do you blame for the decision of him to run for re-election and the decision to hide his declining abilities as much as they were able to?
Well, look, at the top end, you have to blame him because he made the decision. But he was, and your book reflects this in many different ways, he was shielded by a coterie of advisors and his family. They were in this confirmation bubble, and they tried to shield the world from his decline, and they tried to shield him from his own standing and his polling numbers and so on. And so at the end of the day, I have to point the finger at the people around him who didn't do him a service by encouraging him to continue. I think it was obvious to the public. It may not have been obvious to a lot of politicians. I actually think it was, but it wasn't politically it wasn't politically wise in their judgment to speak out. But it was obvious to the American people, even before that debate, that the president was just too old. He would have been closer to 90 than 80 if he had won re-election, and he already was showing decline. So I blame the people around him, because real loyalty, and it's hard when you work for President Jake to tell them hard truths, but real loyalty demanded that they say, Mr. President, it's just not there, and it's not in your interest, and it's better for you, the country, and the Democratic Party if you leave now.
Van, I remember how emotional you were in the immediate moments after the June 27th, 2024 debate because of what you saw on the stage. And with all this new reporting coming out, and I should disclose that I gave both of you copies of the book so you would have a little bit more information. Do you feel like you were duped, Van? Like, how do you feel?
First, this book is extraordinary. I don't care who you are, left, right, or otherwise. Anybody who cares about this country and about just the dynamics of power, this is the emperor's new clothes playing itself out in real time. Everybody knew, but everyone was afraid to say, except for David Axelrod for 2 years, that something was wrong here. And so, I was shocked. I love Joe Biden. I don't like him. I love him. I got a chance to work with him when I was a part of the Obama administration, and loved him more every day. I was shocked to see his condition when he came out, and so was the world. And that wasn't the first time he was in that condition. The book makes it very, very clear. There are people who knew and said nothing. And that is a crime against this republic. And I think the Democrats are going to pay for a long time for being a part of what is now being revealed to be a massive cover-up.
We already knew it wasn't a cover-up. We knew that the Democrat Party were lying. I hate when they're so just so not trustworthy or truthful about not knowing where he stood. All you had to do was watch a Biden speech to see that he was in no place to be president. And as of today, it looks like Joe Scarborough, fake news at MSNBC, had a professional doctor on who diagnosed Biden just by I don't know how he diagnosed him, but he said that Biden clearly had cancer during his presidency, and that they lied to the public about it.
You believe it is likely, if this prostate cancer has spread to the bone, that he could have had it for up to a decade, but certainly it's likely. Would it be fair to say it's likely to have had this for at least several years?
Oh, more than several years. You don't get prostate cancer.
I just want to stop you. So this is not speculation. If you have prostate cancer that is spread to the bone, then he's most certainly, you are saying, had it when he was president of the United States.
Oh, yeah. He did not develop it in the last 100, 200 days. He had it while he was president. He probably had it at the start of his presidency in 2021. Yes, that I don't think there's any disagreement about that.
And I'm just curious again, if your doctor to a president of the United States that is a male, that is an older man, would a prostate test, and again, we're just talking about a PSA screening, a blood test that you could do along with all the other blood tests. And so it's not even that it would be intrusive. Would this not be one of the first tests that you would conduct as a White House doctor?
If you're a White House doctor in this situation, I think you would certainly discuss it with the president and talk about the pros and cons. I think if you then ask, well, if President Biden says, well, if I'm your father, which patients often do, what would you recommend? I think the fact is that most White House doctors would recommend getting the test. And again, the evidence is, look at President Obama, President Bush, younger than President Biden, and they both got the test.
Yep. They didn't give the test or release the test results to the public because they already knew that it would be a damning report, and that everyone already knew Biden was in no position to be president. And I love seeing the leftist press corps now trying to reverse on what they were saying about Biden, which they were defending him up until this point.
Think of conservatives now criticizing you and the media in general for how President Biden was covered during his administration.
I think some of the criticism is fair, to be honest, of me. Certainly, I'm not going to speak for anybody else. But knowing then what I know now, I look back at my coverage during the Biden years, and I did cover some of these issues, but not enough. I look back on it with humility. Look, what we learned through our reporting is that starting in around 2019, 2020, there were two Bidens. There was a Biden that was perfectly workable, serviceable, seemed fine. And then there was a non-functioning one that couldn't come up with names of top aides, that would lose his train of thought to an alarming degree. And that non-functioning Biden reared his head increasingly over and over. It really seemed to exacerbate and get much worse in 2023, 2024.
No, it didn't. You guys are just plain stupid because you guys have been caught. And because Jake Tapper, fake news Jake Tapper, he just wants a quick buck while Biden is pretty much at the end of his career. And it's very sad that they let it come to this point. Now they're just pretty much calling him out, embarrassing him while they knew the whole time his conditions. Well, I'm going to do a later video, and I hope you guys watch it. It seems like a lot more people come out to watch the later podcast, but I hope you guys enjoyed what I put out today. Sharon, thank you for always watching. I appreciate you. I hope you guys have a great day. Love you guys. Peace.